Hey there. I wanted to do a ramble about music because music is cool. As a side note, I think it's really funny whenever anyone tries to be like, "Oh, I love music," like as if that makes them like special. Because like literally every human being on the planet likes music. I don't think there's a single person that doesn't like at least some kind of music. Like obviously, not everyone's going to agree on what like genre they like, and there are people that are like into music culture more than other people. And by that I mean like, they'll be really devoted to like a particular artist, or like, they care more about like the news surrounding music. But when it just comes to like the enjoyment of music, I think everyone pretty much likes music the same. But anyway, I just find that funny. But I wanted to talk about music because I love music. More specifically, I just kind of wanted to talk about the like evolution of the music that I'm interested in. I was recently, just as kind of like a preface to this whole thing, the account I use when I watch YouTube videos now is the account that I post these videos on, the Connor Priola ASMR channel. But for a long time, actually, I used a different separate account, just because I don't really know why, to be honest. Because like I've always had like a Connor Priola Gmail that had like a YouTube account associated with it. But for some reason, I always used like just this weird like secondary Gmail account I had made. For some reason, I don't know. But I'd used that one for a long time, like probably over 10 years. And I still have access to that account, and it still has like all of that stuff. So like I was going back through that account and looking at all of the liked videos on that account, just because it was interesting to see the types of things that like a younger version of myself was into. But inevitably that included a lot of music. I feel like most of the videos that I like on YouTube are just music. um, I don't typically like, and by like I mean like physically press the like button on just like random videos that I enjoy. It's just not really something I do personally. I don't know why. Again, I guess I'm just kind of weird, but yeah. Um, but still, most of the videos in that liked account was music, and it just made me kind of think about the music I used to listen to, and it made me want to make a ramble about music and the type of music I listen to now and the type of music I listened to then and how they're different and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about music. Um, I guess I'll just try to go in chronological order. The problem is that I don't perfectly remember everything I used to do when I was younger. Um, I've forgotten. I don't have the greatest of memory. So, as we get closer to like current time, I'm going to have more information. Uh, just cracked my finger. I probably shouldn't do that on an ASMR video. Um, but anyway, yeah, I guess we'll start. If we're going like way back, like even before YouTube, when I was like a little kid, I guess the music that I grew up listening to back then was mostly like 80s and 90s stuff. Because that was the stuff that my parents listened to, because that was the stuff that they listened to when they were kids, right? So like growing up in the house, my mom and dad would always have some kind of like 80s song playing. And it's actually kind of a joke between me and my siblings that there are certain songs that when we hear them, we think of like specific activities. So the most like visceral reaction, and I say visceral in the fact that it's like a very strong, not necessarily negative, although I think visceral usually has a negative connotation, so maybe that's the wrong word, but the strongest reaction, I would say, is the song, I think it's Kiss Me by like Sixpence, something like that, I don't know. But that particular song is a song that my mom would play a lot when she would like, when we would have like our spring cleaning the house day. And me and my siblings all agree that like when we hear that song, we immediately think like, oh, it's time to clean, which is really funny. That's not 80s technically. I think that came out in maybe like the early 2000s. Maybe that's a 90s song. I'm not 100% sure. It would be late 90s, I'm pretty sure, if it is 90s. But that's just one example. So yeah, when it came to the songs I listened to when I was like a little kid, it was probably mostly that stuff. There was probably a decent amount of like 2000 stuff just because I grew up in the 2000s. I was born in 1999, so I'm not a 90s kid. So most of the like the pop culture that I was, exposed to as a kid was from the, mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s mostly. So yeah, stuff like that. I remember liking Crazy Frog. Is it Crazy Frog by Axel F or Axel F by Crazy Frog? I'm not sure. But that song I remember liking a lot. I want to say that I like fell into techno type music. It got really bright all of a sudden. That's probably going to fuck up the recording, but oh well. Let's see how long it lasts. Is it just going to go away? It's been cloudy all day, so I'm surprised the sun just started to come out. Of course, right as I start to record. When I've set all of my like ISO and everything for a cloudy day, and then the sun comes out and it just looks awful. If it's gonna stay sunny, I'm gonna reset the exposure and everything. Let's see. I'll give it 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm going to reset the exposure. It's probably going to go into clouds in just a second, and then it's going to be way too dark. Anyway, where was I? I was talking about techno. Not necessarily techno, because I think techno is literally its own genre that's more like disco type of like Euro pop type of music, which isn't necessarily, I just call it techno because it was very like synth heavy, like very like digital era sounding music. I want to say that I fell into that at a young age, pretty early on. I guess just because it was kind of newish. I don't know. I guess I've always just kind of had an interest in like, like I said, I'm big into sci-fi and stuff like that. And so it just kind of plays into that, I guess, where it's like, it's like the sound of the future, right? I don't know. I can't really explain it, but I guess I've just always been into that sort of thing. But those are mainly the songs that I would have listened to when I was like really, really young. Then you get into like, I would consider that like elementary through middle school. Then we get into like high school. And this is where I like start to, and we're going into clouds. Yeah, this is going to be a great video. All right, let me adjust it. We'll just do our best to fix it in post, which never looks that great, but that's just what we're going to have to do. Anyway. That was mostly elementary through middle school, I would say, and then we get into like high school and beyond. And this is where I start to have a bit more information because I can personally remember listening to certain songs and certain genres and stuff. Although again, even at this stage, I'm not like 100% sure about exactly the types of songs and things that I would listen to. But anyway, one of the first genres, I guess you could call it, of music that I remember getting into early on in high school, like freshman, sophomore year, was trap remixes of like random ass songs. And I think there were songs that were specifically made like with a trap aesthetic. So they're not really remixes. It's just a trap song, I guess. I don't know. And this is like the genre that I look back on potentially the most like cringily, I guess. I don't know. When I was going back through all the liked videos, I found a lot of these like in the like very early stages of this channel, because I made it around high school, so it would have been, those would have been some of the first videos that I would have liked on that channel. I have definitely aged out of enjoying this genre of music. Not to shit on anyone that still likes that sort of stuff. But I would say that trap is one of the genres of music that has aged the most. Like when you hear it, it's funny because like you know you like 80s pop and stuff, like those songs are physically old at this point. They're like what, like 40 years old, close to like 50 years old. But a lot of them really don't sound that old. Like they sound like you listen to them and it's like, yeah, that's, I mean, they have a bit of a unique vibe to them, but it's something that like technically could come out today and people would absolutely listen to it. They're still good songs. I still love 80s stuff, by the way, but we'll get there. We're not there yet. But trap is one of those genres that's like when you hear it, you're just instantly transported back to a specific period in time. And it's like trap only existed in this particular period of time. And it doesn't exist now and it didn't exist before and it will probably never exist again. That's not true. I mean, stuff always comes back into style. But when I hear trap, it's just like, damn, I used to like that. Like, this is just bad. I don't know. So yeah, there was a particular channel called Trap City, which when you look up Trap City, there is a channel that comes up, and that's not the one. I thought, because, so when I was going back through all this stuff, I was trying to find that channel, and this was actually before I had logged into my older account, so I was trying to find it on my new account, but I obviously didn't have any of the old videos liked. But I could remember the aesthetic of like the videos because they all have like a unique style that sets them apart from one another. And I was pretty confident that the channel was called Trap City. So I was trying to find it, but I found some new other channel that is also named Trap City and uploaded a lot of the same stuff, obviously. But when I went back to my old account, I actually did end up finding the original channel, which, if you want to find, I guess I could link it in the description rather than just trying to describe it via words. So yeah, I'll go ahead and link it in the description. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and link like a lot of things in the description. I'm just going to make the description like a list of like periods of my listening journey of music. So if you're interested, you can just go down there and check out some of that. Maybe I'll make a playlist or something. I don't know. But anyway, that channel apparently like died 7 years ago. Like they don't upload anymore, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah, trap is just one genre that it's like when I hear it, it's just like, oh, I mean, whatever floats your boat. To my younger self, that really floated my boat for whatever reason. But when I hear that now, it's just like nails on a chalkboard. Dubstep is also one of those. I was really into dubstep as a young high schooler. Like I said, this was around the same time as trap for me. Like freshman, sophomore year, maybe even this was kind of like blended between middle school. I think I kind of discovered dubstep at like towards the tail end of like middle school, and then like into high school, I continued to listen to it. And that's another genre for me that's like very just bad to me now. It's like, again, if you like dubstep, all the power to you. But I listen to that stuff now and it's just like, ugh. I can't believe there was a time when I like listen to this and like put it on repeat and like, oh, I jammed out to this. I don't know. It's just funny to see how your interests change over time. But those were two genres that I listened to a lot in high school, especially the early days of high school. I think I found like Lofi about like halfway through high school, so I started listening to that a bit more towards like the tail end of high school. Lo-fi, I would say, has aged a lot better than dubstep and trap, which were both pretty like there are videos on those channels like Trap City and stuff that have hundreds of millions of views. Like, I don't know, I was, as I was perusing back through these old videos, there's something about trap that makes me think of Vine, the early days of Vine. I want to say like trap was used a lot in those videos. I feel like that was the period of time when trap was at like its peak in terms of popularity. I can't really verify that because I can't go back in time and see what people were posting on Vine. But I don't know. For some reason, that's just what I think of. Maybe it's just because it makes me think of being younger, and then at the same time, I was watching a lot of Vine. So maybe that's all it is. But either way, I would say lo-fi has aged quite a bit better. Although lo-fi is also kind of in its own way grown stale to me. Not that I've really listened to like too much of it for it to be, uninteresting now. I don't know. It's just, and it certainly depends. I think there are certain lo-fi tracks that are just really uninspired, and they just lean heavily into the fact that they're lo-fi, and so a lot of people will listen to it, where it's just like a very slow, mellow beat, and it's just like, okay, can we get something a little bit more interesting going on here? But there are lo-fi tracks even being made today that are like genuinely good and interesting in their own way. It's like, in order for something to be lo-fi, it doesn't need to just be like super slow and shitty. Like, you can make something interesting and still be considered lo-fi. But yeah, I don't listen to lo-fi as much nowadays, but I do remember liking that a lot as a younger version of myself. And again, it's not one that I look back on and think like, oh, this is terrible. I can still appreciate a lot of the lo-fi songs I used to listen to even today. So I think that one has aged a bit better. Let's see. Okay, so we're towards the middle of high school, like maybe approaching the end of high school. I started listening to a lot of like synthwave, like vaporwave. I started to get really into vaporwave as like towards the end of high school. Like Macintosh Plus, that sort of stuff. Home resonance. I think that was kind of the first vaporwave. I don't even know if that really counts as vaporwave. It's more synthwave, honestly. But it was kind of that stepping stone, because that was the first one I heard. And I was like, oh my gosh, it blows my mind. This is the greatest song I've ever heard. Ironically, I do listen to that one and I'm like, I don't look at it the same way I look at like trap and dubstep, where it's just like, oh, this is terrible. But the appeal of a song like Home or Resonance by Home is just certainly not as appealing as it used to be to me. But yeah, I started listening. I remember the channel Electronic Gems. I subscribed to that account pretty, at some point throughout high school, probably towards like the middle of high school. And I would listen to pretty much every single song that channel uploaded. They didn't make any of the songs themselves. It was just one of those channels that like uploads music by other people. But yeah, I would listen to like fucking every song that channel uploaded, and I would be like, oh, this was the greatest song. I was just really into synthwave, vaporwave, that sort of thing. Yeah, I guess around the tail end of high school, I was getting into like just generic pop, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I've ever really been that huge into pop. I mean, there's obviously been a few songs that I find really good. But as far as like it being a genre that I like specifically seek songs out for, it's never really been that for me. And arguably it's just been that way maybe because like pop is arguably the most popular genre in the world, right? So it's like there's never really been a need for me to like search for pop songs. Like they'll find you because they're just played so much. So maybe that's all it is. But yeah, as far as pop goes, I mean, there's plenty of really, really great pop songs that I enjoy. But yeah, it was never really one that I would definitively say, as far as like a genre goes, that was one that I like had to listen to, And I mean, there were surely some like weird like off spin songs. Like they don't even really fit into like one particular genre, but I don't have a great example. I like I said, if I'm going to link stuff in the description, I might throw a few of those in there. I just don't really know how to describe them. And there's on that account, there were like 1,200 liked videos. And of those, I would say probably like 70 to 80% of them were songs, like music. So you're talking about like, you know, maybe close to like 1,000 songs on that list. So it's like, it's impossible for me to like just physically remember, even though I just looked at like a lot of them. Just remember every single one. But yeah, maybe I'll just go through my liked video. I'll just transfer all of them over and put them on a playlist. Maybe that's what I'll do. I don't know. We'll decide that in post, and you guys will see what I've chosen to do when this video goes up. But yeah. So that was basically all through high school. I would say my like, you know, from, I mean, what is it, like 14 to 18? I think for me it was like 13 to 17 because I was a little young for my class. But around that time, you know, the big standout genres that I listened to at that time were, you know, it started with like dubstep and trap. Then it became like lo-fi, synthwave, vaporwave, that sort of stuff. Yeah, I would say that those are the dominant genres that I listened to at that time. And then you've got post high school, which is like 18 plus. Not safe for work, obviously. I would say directly out of high school. I mean, I continued to listen to a lot of synthwave and vaporwave, and to be fair, I still do listen to a decent amount of that stuff, although I would say the type of, because realistically, synthwave is a very broad genre, and there's probably like finer distinctions that I don't necessarily know about. But to say like I still listen to synthwave, I mean, would be true. But there's like a certain style of synthwave that I listen to that's a bit different than the style that I used to listen to. One I forgot to mention that I found towards the tail end of high school was Carpenter Brute. Now that's a particular artist, obviously. But I found his songs through Corridor Digital did the GTA in real life video. And they did Paradise Warfare as like the background song for that video. And I was like, damn, that's a cool song. I'll have to look that up. I found it, and then I found Carpenter Brute's, like the rest of his songs. And I was like, okay, these things are awesome. So I fell in love with that sort of stuff towards the tail end of high school. I think, again, his stuff counts as synthwave. But obviously it has a very different sound to like, you know, vaporwave and that sort of stuff, which is also like a form of synthwave. So I'm not really sure how to describe all of these things, but that was one that I remember finding towards the tail end of high school, and I continued to listen to that. I mean, to this day, I still love Carpenter Brute. I love his songs so much, and other similar songs like his stuff. I don't know really what to call that. It's like synth rock, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know that I fully understand the distinction between like rock and roll, and then you have like pop, because like pop and rock and roll I feel like are pretty similar. At least, like I said, it's probably just because I don't really know the difference, but to me they seem kind of similar. And then you have like metal, which is like rock but like harder, I guess. I don't know. So yeah. But anyway, after high school, I continued to listen to synthwave and Carpenter Brute and lo-fi to a degree. I don't remember exactly when it was, but at some point I discovered city pop, or, you know, 80s Japanese fusion. I think the first song I was ever exposed to in the genre of city pop, which is what I'll continue to call it, even though, you know, at the time when it was coming out, because all of these songs are from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, it wasn't called city pop, but that's what we call it now, so that's what I'm going to call it. I think the first song I was exposed to from that genre was probably Plastic Love. because there was a period in YouTube's history where it was just recommending Plastic Love to like everyone. There's even a video someone made about like why YouTube was recommending Plastic Love to everyone. So I, like many others, was exposed to it. But I don't remember actually like falling in love with the genre of city pop until I was exposed later on to the song Magic Ways by Tatsudo Yamashita. That song, when I first heard that one, I was like, okay, shut it all down. This is the best genre of music to have ever existed. I still consider Tatsudo to be probably the best in the genre of city pop, if not potentially even like my favorite artist of music just ever. I feel like so much of the stuff that he made is incredible. And it's a shame too, because he doesn't allow like any of his songs on any streaming platform, which includes like YouTube. Now, obviously people continually upload his songs, but the problem is that inevitably they'll get taken down. So like if you like a song, to keep track of it so you can like listen to it later on, you know, it'll get deleted off of your playlist because it got deleted off of YouTube. So it's always a bit of a hassle to like keep track of his songs on a streaming platform. Which is a bit of a shame, but I love his stuff. But yeah, it was around some time shortly after high school, I discovered city pop. And like I said, through mostly Magic Ways, I was like, wow, this stuff is incredible. And I fell in love with that genre. There was a channel, it started off as Zerf Spec or something like that. It was XERF space XPEC. And they just uploaded pretty much nothing but, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s Japanese music. But that channel eventually got taken down. I'm not 100% sure why. I guess they just got like a copyright strike because they upload like hundreds, if not thousands, of like technically copyrighted works. So yeah, but they eventually made a second channel called Searching for Sounds. It's searching, but with an X instead of an S, and then for sounds, where they re-uploaded pretty much the whole catalog. I assume they excluded the ones that originally got them flagged in the first place, but I am still subscribed to that channel, and I still listen to a lot of the stuff that they upload because it's all good. I mean, I listened to so much city pop when I first like discovered it around like, I would say that was around like 2019-ish. Maybe late 2018, early 2019, that it did start to like get a little boring almost, because like I was listening to nothing but that for like a long time. And so there was a period of time where like I stopped listening to it pretty much altogether, because it was like, I guess I've had enough, you know. But I have since gotten kind of back into it, and I'm tentatively like trying to like not listen to it too much so that it doesn't happen again where I'm like get bored of it. But yeah, I still love that stuff. I mean, the whole Big Wave album is, well, I mean, okay. So like the first half of Big Wave is really good. The second half is just like covers of Beach Boys songs, which I don't find as interesting. I mean, the Beach Boys are cool too. I like their music as well, but I like Tatsudo's original stuff. So the first half of Big Wave is incredible, and I would say that that's like a really good way to get into city pop, because a lot of those songs are, well, not a lot. I think Magic Ways might actually be the only one, but they're in English was what I was going to say. So like for a lot of people, you know, music is about the lyrics, right? For me, that's really never been the case. And it's kind of reflected through the music I would listen to throughout pretty much most of my life. Like I said, pretty early on, like when I was very young, I got into like the whole like techno and like synthwave style of music. And then through high school and middle school and everything, you know, I was listening to dubstep and trap and synthwave and, you know, stuff like that, where it's like either there are literally zero lyrics or the lyrics play a really small role in like the appreciation of the music. So lyrics have just never really been that important to me personally. So when I found city pop, it was like, oh, this is great, because it's like the music itself is amazing. And the fact that I don't understand the lyrics because it's in Japanese, it's like it doesn't matter to me, because I never really listened to songs for the lyrics anyway, right? But yeah, I would say Magic Ways might be the best like starter song to like get someone into city pop, because it's in English. So like if they are someone that relies more heavily on listening to like the lyrics, they can still follow along, obviously. And that's a great song. I mean, Magic Ways is arguably one of the best city pop songs of like all time, in my opinion anyway. There's a lot of really good ones, so it's hard to pick like number one. It's just pretty much impossible, but that one's certainly high up on the list. Then you have like, it's Masayoshi Takanaka, I think. He has so many good songs. I mean, it's incredible. O Tango Suerte is potentially my favorite of his, but again, he's got a ton that I really like. Then you've got like Henri. I guess it would be Andy. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but she has a lot of great songs too. It's Timely, the album Timely, and then there's another one. I think is it Time to Fly. I'm not 100% sure. Time to Fly might be a song within the album. I don't know for sure, but she has a lot of great songs. I mean, like I said, the entire genre of city pop is just filled with nothing but bangers, pretty much. I mean, there are some that are less inspired, less interesting, but as far as like a genre that I could just randomly pick any song out of and like expect it to be something I enjoy, there's like no other genre that comes even close to being that, as much as city pop is for me. The Omega Tribe is another good one. The Omega Tribe's like discography, I guess you could call it, I don't know, is like split up into two different like artists, because I think they started off, I'm not 100% sure, so this could all be wrong, by the way, but the way I think it happened is they started off as the Omega Tribe. It's a group of people, and then I think the lead singer ended up getting like kind of more famous than the rest of them, and they kind of split off, but then he came back, I guess, at some point, and so their band became his name plus the Omega Tribe, which is kind of weird. So there's like two different like versions, like not versions, but like two different entities that each have like unique songs, but they're all by the same people. And they all have the same exact vibe. So it's a little annoying to like keep up with that, but their songs are really good too. I'll definitely link some of theirs in the description. But like I said, I listened to their stuff, not there specifically, but city pop in general, for a long time. There was a period of time where it was like that was the only thing I was listening to for a long time. And then, like I said, I think I listened to that maybe a bit too much, and it kind of started to lose. I started to lose interest in it, and it was maybe around then that I started to get back into like American 80s songs and stuff like that, which I still listen to. Like I said, I still think that those songs are fantastic. And to be fair, you know, and this goes for like literally any genre from the past, But you often hear people say like, oh, I wish I had grown up in whatever time period so that I could experience like this type of music. Um, I've just never personally had that mentality, not only because living now allows me to listen to the music of today and the music of yesterday. Like there's just more options. I guess when people say that they wish they had lived in the past to like experience it, they more mean like, getting to experience it for the first time, like being there when it was new would have been cool. And I guess that's technically true, but I think there's a lot more advantage to living now. If I could live in the future so I could listen to future music and everything from the past, that'd be cool. But the main thing I wanted to say was that, there is a lot of bias when it comes to listening to old music today, because you're really only going to listen to the ones that survive the test of time. So when people act like, oh, all of the music from the 80s is incredible, right? It's like, probably not. It's probably just that only the good ones have made it to this point where they're still like a part of, popular culture. So, yeah, I'm not, one of those people that believes that every single song in the 80s was good. I'm sure there was a lot of garbage that came out at that point. But as far as the ones that like, you can easily find and have millions of views and stuff like that, and, they're tried and true songs, they're great. I love listening to those. And I mean, like, a lot of that stuff inspired what we would consider like modern pop anyway. So it's really not that different, in all honesty. I will say, and I feel this way especially about city pop in particular, which is, I feel like back in the 80s, there was more of an emphasis on the music, and by music I mean like the actual like instruments used in a particular song rather than the lyrics. And I feel that way especially about city pop, like I said, where it feels like city pop, especially a lot of the big songs within city pop that are still exceptionally popular, there is a huge emphasis, and I accept that there is obviously a bias for me, particularly because as a person that doesn't understand the lyrics, obviously I'm going to pay less attention to them. But the musicality of the instruments used in city pop is just insane. Like the trumpets, the drums, everything, like the bass line is all incredible. Whereas I feel like nowadays there is more of an emphasis on the lyrics, like a person is telling you a story just in song form, and obviously that's going to differ from artist to artist, but I definitely feel like there is more of an emphasis on lyrics nowadays than there is on the actual music, which to each their own. I mean, I can understand liking one over the other. For me personally, like I said, I've always been more of a music type of guy than a lyric type of guy, so I think that's why city pop appeals to me particularly. And also more like older stuff like 80s. Like I said, even though, American 80s stuff inspired and is very similar to modern pop and whatnot, there's just something about it that's a little bit more appealing to me. I think there's also a decent amount of nostalgia that influences my tastes in music. Like I said, I grew up as a little kid listening to a lot of 80s and 90s stuff because that was the stuff that my parents would listen to, because that's what they listened to when they were kids, And so when I hear that stuff, it kind of reminds me of, being younger, and that's just kind of a comforting feeling, Ironically, I think a lot of people express feelings of nostalgia when listening to city pop. And I feel the same way. When I first found it, I felt like it was a very nostalgic genre, which was something that appealed to me at that time when I found it. Like I said, that was probably back in like 2018, 2019. And that was coming off of me listening to things like synthwave and vaporwave especially, which is considered to be like highly nostalgic. Which I found interesting because it's like, well, I didn't grow up in the 80s in Japan, like I've never heard these songs before in my life. So it was interesting to me that I found them nostalgic when I first started listening to city pop, right? But the more I've thought about it, the more I think that it actually makes a bit of sense, because in a lot of city pop songs, you hear, at least for me, and obviously, again, this is going to differ from person to person, but, I guess I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Yeah, nostalgia is just being reminded of your past, right? And one thing, while I didn't grow up in Japan in the 80s, one thing I did have in my childhood was Nintendo. My family was always a Nintendo family, so we never had an Xbox, we never had a PlayStation, but we always had, we had the GameCube and we had the Wii. And if you listen to a lot of those songs, a lot of them are inspired by, 80s Japanese stuff, or 70s Japanese, like 70s, 80s, 90s Japanese stuff. Because obviously Nintendo is a Japanese company. And, the people that would have been making the music for those games would have probably been heavily inspired by that kind of music. In fact, there's an entire playlist, I might link that as well in the description, on YouTube of songs that people consider to be the inspiration for a lot of the Nintendo songs, like the classic Nintendo songs, like the Mario soundtrack and stuff like that, you can hear a lot of similarities between like classic city pop songs and the songs that, were used in early Nintendo games. Not even in early Nintendo games, but just like, even in like as late as like the mid 2000s, and probably even still today, that stuff is probably still heavily inspired by what we consider to be city pop, right? So yeah, I think that's mainly why, for me at least, and I assume probably potentially for a lot of people, that, despite not growing up in Japan, those songs still have a very nostalgic value just because they sound so similar and so familiar to the Nintendo soundtracks that I'm sure many of us listened to growing up, because that's what we played, right? But yeah, that's pretty much the journey. As far as what I listen to today, I listen to a pretty diverse selection of music. There are a few genres that I just kind of avoid just because I'm not that into. I won't say that there's like no country songs that I like, because there certainly are some country songs that are decent, but certainly not my favorite genre. I'm not big into like heavy metal or anything like that either. Again, I don't necessarily know exactly what classifies a song as like heavy metal, right? Just because I'm not that into like music culture, I don't really know all that much. I just listen to what I enjoy, and I don't really care what the genre is. What I consider to be heavy metal, I guess, is just like, like screamo stuff, where it's just like the heavy electric guitar and like, rah, right? Although even that sometimes, potentially, depending on my mood, could be interesting. But certainly not something that I would listen to on a regular basis. But again, maybe that's not even considered heavy metal. I'm not sure. But yeah, I still listen to Carpenter Brut a lot, and that style of like heavy synthwave rock and roll type of stuff. I listen to a lot of city pop still. I listen to a lot of American 80s stuff. I also like songs. I don't know what genre this is. Maybe it's R&B. I'm not 100% sure. But like just the two of us, with like Bill Withers, like that style of song, where it's like, it's more like soul type of music, I guess. I'm not really sure what genre that would fall into, but you know what I mean, that sort of thing. Let's see, what else do I listen to? I listen to I still listen to some lo-fi, although, like I said, I, I think some people lean too heavily into the idea that lo-fi is supposed to be like really mellow, and some of those songs just end up being really boring as a result, in my opinion. So some of that stuff just doesn't appeal to me as much, but I'll still listen to that occasionally. I've actually been using, so I've started paying for, I've been paying for this for a while now. I've been paying for YouTube Premium because I just got sick of the ads. But as a part of YouTube Premium, you get access to YouTube Music, and the YouTube Music app is actually really good. Now, to be fair, I never used like Spotify. I've always used YouTube to listen to music, even though it's not really the best suited app for that purpose. So like I don't really have anything to compare YouTube Music to. I've never used Apple Music, Amazon Prime Music, or Spotify or anything like that. But the YouTube Music app actually is pretty awesome, because it lets you find songs you would like otherwise never find, which is really ironic to me because like the YouTube search, like the base YouTube that just has like every video that anyone uploads to YouTube, right? The base YouTube like search algorithm and related like recommendation algorithm is garbage. It just shows you stuff you've already watched because it's like, I guess they figure it's a safer bet to like keep you on the platform to just have you watch the same thing over and over again than it is to expose you to something completely new. So it's ironic that the YouTube Music algorithm is really good at exposing you to new stuff. So I'll frequently find stuff on there that I've never heard before that's like well outside what I would like search for or anything. And it's like, damn, that's actually really good. Lately, in terms of that, I would say there's an artist, I think it's a band, a group, called the Marias. I'm not sure. I'll link them in the description as well. I've been listening to their stuff lately, and I think that's pretty good. I don't really know what genre that is. It's like, I guess it's like emo stuff. I don't know. It's like emotional, like dainty. I don't know how to describe it. Honestly, like I said, I'm not wholly into the whole like music culture and like fitting everything into a little box. Like I said, it's just, I listen to what I enjoy, and I don't really care what it is. Yeah. Other than that, I'll listen to some like just generic pop, like popular songs, you know. I don't know any as of like super recent, because I don't really stay super up to date with that sort of stuff. But a few that, you know, hit me right off the bat are like Doja Cat's Kiss Me More. I like that one. And Ariana Grande's, what's the name of it? I cannot think of the title of this song. I can hear the song playing in my head. I'm like trying to play it to get to the chorus where she like says the name of the song. I cannot think of the name of the song. I'll have to put it up on the screen or something. I don't know. But yeah, those are like the only two that I can think of right off the top of my head. Apparently, I can't even really think of them off the top of my head. But I do like those two songs. And there's a handful of others. Tame Impala. I like Tame Impala's songs a lot. Although I will say that their songs are very hit or miss. Some of them are like, wow, this is really great. And some of them are like, I'm not impressed. But I do like a lot of their stuff. And I'm trying to think of other stuff. I still listen to like Synthwave and specifically like vaporwave. Windows 96 is an artist that I like a lot in that kind of realm. I would say in terms of like vaporwave, if you even want to classify him as vaporwave, I would say especially early on when he was making music, a lot of his stuff could be classified as vaporwave. But at this point, I feel like he's kind of broken into his own genre. It doesn't really fit, you know, specifically into the genre of vaporwave. But either way, Windows 96 I like pretty much all of his stuff. I think it's all really good. Yeah. When it comes to like, I guess I'll just run down some artists. So like, when it comes to American '80s, I like Tears for Fears. Um, I like Wham. Wham's great. I love Wham. Who else? See, the thing about American '80s is I feel like there was no artist that was just entirely consistent. You have a lot of these hits that have stood the test of time, like Maniac, for instance, by Michael Cimbello or something like that. I don't know what his name is. Um, but the fact that I don't know his name is just further proof that like he made that one song. And then like what else did he make? Like I feel like there's so many like one hit wonders in the '80s um, that are just like super popular today. But that was like the only song they made that was popular. Um, the the duo group, I don't know their name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's like Earl and Hyde or something like that. It's something like that. The guys that did Man Eater, I like some of their songs. Um, but yeah, I can't think of too many artists out of the '80s that like consistently made really great stuff. I feel like a lot of those are just kind of like one-offs. When it comes to city pop, like I said, Tatsudo, uh, Takanaka, and Henri, those three, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a bad song out of like all three of their discographies combined. It's just so many good ones. Um, there's plenty of uh, incredible artists where it's like, when it comes to, like I said, with American '80s, it's like you don't find artists that just made amazing stuff. You find amazing songs. With city pop, I feel like it's entirely different. You find an artist and it's like, oh wow, that's a great song, and then you listen to another one, it's like, oh wow, that one's good too, and it's like, okay, it's just all good. I mean, obviously, yes, they are going to have some songs that are just like, okay, that's a little bit different, a little bit not my vibe, but on the whole, those are, I mean, they're pretty much all good. Um, like I said, when it comes to vaporwave, I guess I don't know that Home really again fits within vaporwave. He's definitely synthwave, so I guess Home is pretty good. I like a lot of his stuff. Like I said, Resonance is like arguably the most well-known like vaporwave-ish song. Um, Potentially that or Macintosh Plus. Those are both very popular within that genre. But Home I like a lot. Windows 96 I like a lot. I remember, I don't listen to these specifically as much anymore, but when I was younger, listening to this stuff regularly, some of the artists I liked were like Allison, Loon, and there was, Emil Rotmeyer. I'm not exactly sure how you say their name, but those three were pretty consistently great. Again, Carpenter Brute within the synthwave. I don't know if I already listed him or not. Let's see, who else? What other genres? Um, um, Within lo-fi, um, I don't know. I never really, again, that was another genre where I didn't really follow a particular artist. And most of the time, I really don't follow a particular artist. There's only a few artists out of all of the music that I listen to that I specifically like follow and know the name of. Most other songs I listen to, I just know the song that I like that they make. It's like, that's the one, right? um, so within lo-fi, I don't really know too many specific artists. Um, there are a couple like particular beat tapes that I remember liking. So there's Freshly Squeezed by Limes. I like that one. Um, uh, oh, what is it? Tucky Monster. Honestly, this one, I feel like it's barely lo-fi. Um, well, sorry. Um, I think the artist is Tucky Monster, something like that. And the name of the like album is Midnight Menu. That's what it is. Midnight Menu by like Tucky Monster, something like that. I remember listening to that a lot when I was younger. And that was one that I was freshly reminded of when I was going back through my old YouTube account. I found that one and I was like, oh my gosh, because I used to listen to that one so much. But at this point, it's been years since I've listened to it. So I was very recently reminded of that and I listened to it again. And I was like, this one still holds up. It's very unique. And like I said, that's when it comes to lo-fi, that's almost a necessity for me personally, where it's like, if it's just too mellow, if it's just too like typical, it's just a little boring. But that one is like very different to me anyway. So I like that one for that reason. Yeah, and then I mean, like I said, I'll probably end up linking a good number of just random songs that I enjoy in the description. But as far as like knowing them off the top of my head or knowing the artist that makes them, I don't know. I can't think of it. It's funny if like the internet died and like YouTube and YouTube music like disappeared overnight, I would honestly lose track of like so much of the music I listen to because I rely on like the history feature and like my liked playlist. Like I don't know the names of any of these things. In fact, I like recognize the art of the album more than I recognize like the name of a song. More like sometimes like I rely on those things much more than I rely on the name of the artist or the name of the song or anything. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. Maybe lots of people do that. I don't know. But anyway, I just thought that'd be fun to talk about music. So that's where I'm at right now. Like I said, I'll throw some in the description probably. And yeah, if you just feel like taking a listen, let me know what you think. And let me know what types of music you listen to in the comments. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found this ramble relaxing. I found myself talking a little bit louder at certain points, so hopefully that's not too bad. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will catch you later.